You guys, what did I just watch? Last year there was this movie. It was called The Tearsmith. It was a terrible movie. It wasn't even a Twilight knockoff. It was a knockoff of a Twilight knockoff. It was so bad that I ended up developing a bit of a soft spot for it. It made me feel nostalgic, and watching it, I got this feeling that somebody really cared about the story and these characters. The way it was filmed, it was just so earnest, and so you can't not like it. Like, I love a lovingly made terrible movie. This one though, like Our Fault, it's just bad, and I'm convinced that this wasn't even made by humans, and if it was, this script was written one afternoon in the Amazon offices. I'm actually really offended by it. And actually how this movie turned out was how I was expecting the first one to be, but the makers were obviously still a little bit invested in the first one, but at this point we're just phoning it in, and even the lead actors who carried this whole thing on their backs could not save it. Anyway, onto the video. Noah's walking through the airport on her way to Ibiza for her friend Jenna's wedding. And as she's browsing through duty free, she sees her ex Nick on the cover of Forbes magazine. We learn that 4 years have since passed and they're obviously no longer together. I have not seen the second movie, so we're going to have to just learn and catch up as we go. On the plane, she has this little coffee accident spill situation with a guy named Simon, and judging by their interactions, the fact that he asks her out when they land and she declines, we know that he's going to be an important character. Anyway, Noah is the maid of honor at her best friend's wedding, and Nick is going to be the best man. Something that Noah is not so keen on, but Jenna tells her, well, you're going to be fine. It's so much time has passed. It's been 4 years. Noah spots him come out of the car making an entrance, and she kind of stops in her tracks for a minute before she hides around a corner. Anyway, the two of them almost finally acknowledge each other at the party, but Nick pretends to be unbothered. And then they need to move to another location, and Noah is told that she's going to have to be in the car with Nick. There's someone riding with them in the back, so it's not like a lot can happen, but obviously Nick can't pretend the whole way there. He's gripping the steering wheel, he's tense, he grazes Noah's leg by accident, he's giving her secret looks. He can't fight this, he can't help himself. The acting is just atrocious even for these two, but yeah, there's tension. They get to the second location and they're practicing the walk down the aisle, and obviously they need to be close. They also have to sit next to each other for the dinner, and I'm certain they haven't even said hello to one another. Remember, they didn't even say anything to each other in the car. They do finally look at each other though, and Noah is a lot more normal about it. I don't know what's going on with Nick. He's giving Edward Cullen in biology class when he first smelled Bella. That's the vibe I'm getting. Lion, Jenna's now husband, as I've mentioned, is a proper weirdo. He tells Nick that they're going to the Seychelles on honeymoon, because he wants to have sex under a waterfall. So they talk about this, and this is just so stupid. And I feel like these side characters barely even are characters. They're just minor distractions to waste time because the two main characters can't get together yet. Eventually they do get together. Well, they slow dance, and it's very awkward because both still have their guard up, but you know, the hormones are also raging because being that close with your hot ex who you have unresolved whatever with, it's hot. They both admit then that they know they've been set up by their friends, and that's when they give in. They rush off and they have frantic steamy sex. Spanish shows love a graphic sex scene, sometimes to a fault. Like, you'll just get an explicit sex scene for the sake of it, and this is an example. Like, there's no atmosphere, there's no vibe, there's no build-up. It's not hot at all. It just felt like, well, we needed to have a sex scene here, so bam, and then it's over. Like, it was nothing. And I felt this way about a lot of the scenes in this movie. It felt like somebody had a storyboard with all the scenes that they wanted, but they didn't really think about how these scenes are going to stick together, how they're going to flow together and transition into one another. So to me, it just kind of feels like a bunch of scenes. And the plot itself came later because there's barely a plot here. Afterwards, Nick puts his clothes back on and he leaves. And Noah tries to reach out to him, and he tells her that when he closes his eyes, all he sees is Noah and him. And I'm thinking, him who? Did she hook up with Lion's hot brother? Because I sensed vibes between them earlier at the wedding. Did Noah cheat? I feel like I'm gonna have to watch the second movie now, aren't I? Anyway, for now, it seems that their hookup was a one and done thing, and they're getting back to their lives. So Noah graduates and she's looking for a job. She does some promotions and a bunch of dead-end jobs that aren't really great for her. Meanwhile, Nick is heading up a board meeting in London, and it looks like he's with his much older board members, and Nick is trying to save the company. He wants to invest in new tech or something, you know, the usual storyline. Noah goes in for another interview, and her interviewer is, drumroll, the guy Simon from the plane. He's actually really gross and unprofessional here. He doesn't even look at her face to greet her, and he starts the interview with his back turned to her because he's distracted by some robot. I get what they were going for with this character, kind of like man-child surfer tech dude who gets to be weird and not respect social norms because he's a genius. I hate it, and I hate him. Then we cut to Lion and Jenna under the waterfall on their honeymoon. The waterfall sex that Lion is so determined to have is not working out. He's basically mauling her, which isn't surprising because I told you he's weird. And Jenna's like, this hurts, I don't want to do this. He's trying too hard, and he has the audacity to complain when she leaves. How on earth did these two get together? How did they meet? How did they date? I have no idea. But you see what I mean about scenes being stuck together. We didn't need to see this. Nick is very broody at the moment. He's also having an affair with a kind of friend slash colleague. Well, they run in the same circles. And she hands him a pair of lace panties and she tells him that somebody left these. Like in the beginning, I couldn't really tell if this was her way of flirting and they're actually hers, or if Nick was just a really careless playboy and girls just left their panties there. I think that they were her panties though. So Noah ends up getting hired by Surfer Tech Dude's company, and she's an overachiever at her job right away. Of course, she's the one who has the solution to her boss's problem with his investors. They don't like his idea, but she has the winning strategy. Nick is stalking Noah on social media, but he also tells his lover that they should consider being an official couple, mostly for optics. He needs to be humanized in the public eye, and she needs a guy on her arm for her dad's campaign. Cosas de ricos, win-win, they make money. Noah goes on a date with her boss, and he kisses her at the end of the date, but she's like, no, I want to move slower. This pairing is so boring and ice cold. I don't know if he was actually supposed to be like a viable second option for her, and there's supposed to be some competition with Nick, because absolutely not. They're very playful and inappropriate at work. They arm wrestle at the office, and just then Nick walks in. So Nick is the new investor who bought shares in this company, and it turns out it was Noah's plan that convinced him to buy the shares worth millions of dollars. Nick does refer to Noah as his stepsister, so that quickly throws off any potential suspicions. He also gives her Girl Friday type work, even though she's capable of doing more around the office. And later on, just as Noah is declaring to her friend that she's over Nick, she sees a magazine article of him and his new girlfriend as the new official it couple in the business world, and that kind of trips her up a little bit. Everyone has Christmas at the house, and right now I'm wondering where on earth we are, because everybody's dressed for the summer, and I'm sorry, I have one job, which is to report on this movie, and I don't know. But I don't know if it's that important. Nick tells the tech company that there's a new code of conduct, so there'll be no more fraternization among the staff. Noah tries to end things with Simon, but he says to her he doesn't care about his company. He's not letting her go. Like, what? Are we already there in that romance of theirs? Like, it's okay. Nick and Noah get trapped in an elevator one day, and he tells her that he's installed cameras all over the office, and he spends way too much time watching over her until she eventually signs her resignation. She's over this, like being watched at the office. Then he starts touching her face and flirting with her. There are glass doors here. I don't know. I guess the no fraternization rule does not apply to the boss. Nick's mom tells him that she has leukemia, and see, this is what I mean by this is just a bunch of scenes stuck together. Things are just happening. So yeah, I'm just gonna tell you what happened. So she tells him that she has leukemia, and she's handing custody of Nick's little sister over to her dad. And I don't know, was Nick expecting to get custody? I don't know, but this is really upsetting to him. He and his mom aren't close. He pretty much hates her, but she does have a terminal illness now, so it's complicated. Nick then goes over to Noah, and he says he doesn't want to be alone. He's all hot and sad, and she tells him that this is not a good idea, but of course they can't resist, and they have sex again. Nick had better not pull that ducking out move again afterwards. But oops, plot twist, Noah's the one who leaves. And she's driving away, she's crying, very emotional, and then she looks down and she notices that she's bleeding heavily. She's pregnant, 16 weeks pregnant. Did she and Noah have sex for the first time? Was that 16 weeks ago? Somebody please do the maths quickly. It can't be Simon's, because then we're just wasting time, and I hate this. Anyway, Jenna tells her husband, guess who's pregnant? And he incorrectly guesses that it's her, that Jenna's pregnant. And he has this weird little crash out over it. Lion, why are you so gross? Nick's girlfriend is at the hospital, and some guy informs her that not only do Nick and Noah work together now, because he didn't tell his girlfriend that, he also outs Noah's pregnancy. Obviously, Noah being pregnant with Nick's baby would be a bombshell, because it would ruin her father's campaign, because Nick is meant to be with her, remember, not Noah. And the last thing they need is a scandal. Everybody ends up at some party. Nick is obviously watching Noah and Simon from the shadows. They're still kind of flirting. Not sure what she's still doing with this guy, but okay. The minute Simon heads over to the bar, Nick swoops in and he apologizes for going too far at work with watching her or whatever. He also wonders why she left the other night after they had sex, and she says that she didn't want to be dumped for a second time. Good girl. At some point, they're alone in a corner and they're making out. Then she gets cramps and he ends up taking her out of the club. And his girlfriend is watching this all happen the whole time from a distance. Nick and Noah finally have a heart-to-heart, and Noah says goodbye to him. She's like, well, you're with Sophia and you can't forgive me anyway. Noah, what did you do? Did you cheat? Did she cheat? Anyway, she ends up back at the hospital then, and then we cut to a funeral, and at first I was like, wait a minute, they wouldn't. No, they wouldn't. It's Nick's mom's funeral, thank goodness, I guess. Nick and his girlfriend break up, and he goes and buys some jewelry. Simon is leaving. So yeah, the movie is trying to type all the loose ends quickly, I guess. There's also this whole subplot that's very annoying, and I won't get too much into. It's two people who want to get their revenge on the main couple for reasons. I think it has to do with in the second movie. Anyway, they decide to team up and do just that, get their revenge on Noah and Nick. Nick intercepts Noah as she's about to leave, and she's visibly pregnant at this point. These two dummies, the married couple, are hanging around like, get out of the way, you two. Nick says, I don't care if the baby's Simon's. I'll love it as my own. And I love you. Let's try again. Let's do this. And then, well, I guess since this started off as some kind of drag racing movie, they need to have a callback to that. So Nick and Noah drag race down the street. Like, she's 6 months along at this point, and I don't like how she's driving like this heavily pregnant. But anyway, this whole time, Nick and Noah are busy having banter, and he's trying to win her back. They get to her mom's house, and he's about to walk to her, and they're about to reconcile, but someone shoots Nick in the stomach. And there's like 20 minutes left of this movie, so he's gonna live. Cut to a few months later, because yeah, of course, Nick and Noah are happy parents to a baby. Then he takes out a red box and he gives it to her. It's a heart pendant. He still has some physical pain from being shot, so I don't know how much time has passed, not a lot. There's a storm then, and suddenly Briar, the redhead who wanted revenge, is in the house and she takes the baby. She's singing at a nursery rhyme like a proper psycho, and Nick is obviously not at full strength, so he can't overpower her, but he does push the SOS button, so help is on the way. Noah is downstairs making a cup of tea, but she manages to come upstairs and fight Michael, the other revenge person. And then when she gets upstairs, Briar has a knife and she's like, you owe me this baby. And she runs out. Briar runs out with the baby. Noah runs after her outside of the house. Michael's still in the bedroom and he wants to beat Nick up, but suddenly there's a dog there and it scares him and he falls out of the window. Oh God. Yes. That happens. Noah somehow overpowers Briar and she gets her baby back. Briar is arrested and we see Michael being wheeled into an ambulance. So he did survive the fall. And yeah, that's a plot with Michael and Briar. It's really not important, but okay. In the end, Nick and Noah get married. These two are very gorgeous, by the way. And Nick's ex is at the wedding and she catches the bouquet. So all's well that ends well. And then they drive off to their honeymoon and they live happily ever after. And yeah, that's the movie. Don't really even have many thoughts because what is there really to say that I haven't said yet? Yeah. Anyway, if you have any, feel free to share and thank you for watching.